Picture this. It's 1972. We're in a small apartment near a junior college in Sacramento. For one young woman, Marissa Luttrell, this is her first taste of real independence. But for her new roommate, Rachel, it's something else entirely. It's the final test in a top-secret experiment. And what Marissa is about to uncover is a secret that doesn't just span decades, it spans galaxies.
That's a weird thing to say, right? This is one of the very first clues. It's a description from Marissa's mother, Helen, recalling the first time she touched Rachel. It's this strange, unsettling physical detail that starts to pull at the seams of reality. And it's where this whole story really begins to unravel.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We've got two young women sharing an apartment. Looks totally normal on the surface, just a simple roommate situation. But here's the thing, nothing about this was a coincidence. This whole arrangement was carefully planned from the very, very beginning.
So first up, we have Marissa Luttrell. She's legally blind because of childhood diabetes, and she needs a little help getting to and from her classes. And then there's Rachel. She was set up as Marissa's roommate by an Air Force colonel, a guy named Harry Nadian. And, she seems like the perfect roommate for someone who can't see, because there are some things about Rachel you're just not supposed to see.
Living with Rachel was, well, odd. Her voice was flat, almost robotic. She'd wear a hat and sunglasses inside all the time. She had never heard of Simon and Garfunkel, had no idea about any pop culture, and seemed to have zero history before 1969. And her food, it was this weird green mush that would just appear at their door, delivered in plain white boxes marked with nothing but a little red triangle. But here's the twist. The whole experiment, the whole reason Rachel was there, was built on one massive flaw. They picked Marissa because she was blind. What they didn't know was that her vision was actually slowly coming back. And she was smart enough to keep it a secret. She just played along, all while watching everything. So you have to ask, right? With all these strange details, the clothes, the weird food, the total lack of a past, it all builds to this one huge question. What was really going on with Rachel? And the answer, well, it comes in this absolutely horrifying moment. Marissa finds Rachel in the bathroom after what looks like a suicide attempt. But the blood, it isn't right. It's pink and thin, almost watery. And as Marissa grabs her roommate's arm, she feels the skin literally knit itself back together. The wounds just disappear, right there. And in that one impossible moment, the truth becomes terrifyingly clear. Rachel wasn't human. So what do you do when you find out your roommate isn't human? You call your mom. Marissa calls her mother, Helen, totally panicked. But here's the crazy part. Helen isn't shocked at all. It turns out this otherworldly story didn't start in a college apartment in 1972. Nope. It began a whole generation earlier, with Helen herself. See, as a kid, Helen claimed she had these encounters with a strange blue light in the woods. When she was 13, she said it made her a promise. Then, years later, in 1951, she says she was taken to a bizarre doctor's office where that same blue light impregnated her. 9 months after that, Marissa was born. So we've got the blue light, we've got Marissa's strange birth, we've got Rachel's existence. You might think these are all just random, weird events. They're not. They were all pieces of a single top-secret government program. It was called the Humanization Project, and it was run by that same colonel, Harry Nadian, out of a secret underground base called Four Corners. The goal was actually pretty simple. Could a hybrid being live among regular people, completely unnoticed? And Rachel, she was the key. She was the test subject. In 1969, Colonel Nadian pulled her out of a crashed spaceship. Now, she was different from the other beings on board, the classic grays. Rachel looked part human, so Nadian decided to raise her himself, basically grooming her for this ultimate test of integration. But why? I mean, what was the whole point of this elaborate, decades-long project? Well, according to the project's head geneticist, a hybrid himself named Chizky, the answer is pretty dark. He claimed humanity was basically an engineered resource, a farm. We were being cultivated for our genetic material to save a dying alien species that had cloned itself into a dead end. So this entire project was designed to test integration, to see if a hybrid could fake being human. But its creators made one massive, fatal miscalculation. They never, ever accounted for the power of a real, unprogrammed human connection.
Okay, so this is where it all comes together in the most shocking way possible. Colonel Nadian finally confesses the whole truth. That embryo that was taken from Helen back in 1951, that was Rachel. And Nadian himself, he was the genetic father, which means Marissa and Rachel weren't just roommates, they were half-sisters. The entire experiment was a twisted, engineered family reunion.
And that's where the whole experiment went completely off the rails, because Rachel stopped just simulating human emotion and she started actually feeling it. She developed real loyalty, real love for her mother and her sister. She chose her family over her mission. And in the eyes of her handlers, that was a catastrophic failure.
Her final act was the ultimate proof of that love and the ultimate betrayal of her mission. See, the whole experiment depended on Marissa being blind. But Rachel, in an act of pure love for her new sister, used her otherworldly powers to completely heal Marissa's eyes. She gave her her sight back and destroyed her own cover in the process.
So what happens when a top-secret asset goes rogue? They don't get a second chance. They get eliminated. 2 years after she left that apartment, Rachel was killed. Her crime? Becoming too human.
I mean, what a story, right? It is absolutely incredible. But it begs the one question that matters most. Is any of it actually true? Let's take a look at the evidence, or lack thereof. All right, let's play detective for a minute. On the one hand, the case for it is pretty compelling. Helen told this same story for decades, never changing a detail, even when people called her crazy. There were other witnesses who remembered a strange girl named Rachel. There's even a story about her college records mysteriously vanishing. But the case against it is just as strong. It all comes from basically one person. A lot of the memories were dug up using hypnosis, which is controversial, and there's zero physical proof. None. And that really leaves us with this one final thought-provoking idea. If any of this is true, the irony is just overwhelming. Did the Humanization Project fail because a hybrid couldn't successfully pretend to be human? Or did it fail because, in the end, she actually became more human, showing more love and loyalty than the very people who created her and then destroyed her?